¿Listo? No vas a dar un beso ni nada para empezar. Okay. The presentation. The presentation is called More Email, More Problems. Sending more targeted email without driving your customers or yourselves crazy. I'm Kalen, and this is my family, my wife, and my daughter. You can follow me on Twitter. Oh, I forgot one other one. Is it playing? There you go. You can observe the creature in her natural habitat there. This is Juliet. Aquí también se habla español, así que si me quieren comunicar en español me pueden hablar. Pero lo voy a dar esta plática en inglés para que me defienda mejor. Okay, I'm the founder of Meet-Magento, a little email marketing company in Los Angeles, California, specifically Monrovia. And I started Meet-Magento about 2 years ago, and Meet-Magento does triggered email for Magento, so things like abandoned cart emails, review requests, recommendations, any type of email that's triggered off of some specific customer action or event. How do I look in the camera there? Look okay? Look good? Looking fresh? Looking fresh. Before, look presentation off leak. Before doing this, I worked for a Magento enterprise merchant as a senior developer. And before that, I worked for Sweet Tooth. You guys ever heard of Sweet Tooth? Yeah, yeah. Who knows Sweet Tooth? You guys ever seen Bill Curtis? My boss taught me everything I know. Everybody loves Bill. I also co-host the Mage Talk podcast, the Magento community podcast, which we've done now for about a year or so. We've interviewed some different people, Yob Kuttner, one of the co-founders of Magento, and some other people. And I think we just did episode 69, and it's been fun. I don't know if you know my co-host, Philip Jackson. He's pretty fun. He's mostly fun. Who knows Philip? Who knows Philip? Yeah. Who knows how many Magento certifications Philip has? He actually has 500 certifications. Also, whoa, let's not talk about you yet. We got a few more things to cover. Also, creator of the Mage Socks. Who's rocking their Mage Socks today? Come on, represent. Talesh in the house. This is the classy llama wearing the Mage Socks. Okay, but enough about me. Let's talk about you, at least for a little bit. So you are a merchant running Magento, right? Well, not that kind of merchant. There we go. And actually, how many merchants are there in the room? Are we all developers? 0 merchants. Okay, that's great. I think I'm done, guys. I'm done. All right, let's go. So you're not a merchant, but if you were, maybe you're seeing this online a year from now somewhere else, and this might be relevant to you. You guys are going to all be bored, because I don't have too many technical details. And or maybe you help. You're an agency. Maybe you consult with merchants, and so you want to send more email, better email, that kind of thing. But maybe you aren't quite sure how to approach that. There's some different challenges and questions, where to get started, where to focus your resources. So by raise of hands, even if you're not a merchant, go ahead and answer this, because I'm kind of curious. If, let's say you work for an agency, or think about your favorite client and answer this question for that client. So are you sending an email newsletter? And raise your hand and then keep them raised. So anybody doing an email newsletter? Okay, we've got 5, only 6, 7 people. Okay. Guys are a little bit weak so far, but I'm going to keep going with you. How many are A/B testing subject lines? Keep them raised. How many are doing abandoned cart emails? Keep them raised. Review requests? Keep them raised. And segmenting abandoned carts to new and return visitors? Keep them raised. Oh, we got 2 left standing. Good stuff. Okay, good job, good job. So I just want to get to know you guys a little bit better. Now, we have a few problems, right? We've got a few no one's going to laugh? No one's going to laugh? Okay. We've got a few problems to address when it comes to email marketing. The first one is spam. You don't want to spam your customers, right? Everybody hates getting email. Who hates getting email? We all hate getting email. Nobody wants more email. Email's horrible, right? And so we're going to talk about that. We're just going to get it out there. Problem number 2, who has the time to design these HTML emails? You got to fire up your Windows XP computer, get into Outlook 2000 just to test your emails. And problem number 3 is, where do I start? There's so many options and things to do with email and all this kind of thing. So how do I figure out where I want to get started? Everything requires resources and time and marketing, copywriting, design, development. So how do you figure out where you want to spend your time? All right, so problem number one, spam. This is how we all feel, right? We're in an ocean, and we're getting covered with waves after waves of email. And so the question is, how do we know if we're sending too much email? How do we know if we're overwhelming the customer? Oh, Philip's recording. Awesome. Thanks, dude. And so what I want to recommend is that we try to take a data-driven approach to that. You guys like my graphic? Let's keep it data-driven. Because a lot of times we all have feelings about email, subjective feelings about whether we're doing too much, not enough, if we're spamming, blah, blah, blah. So what I want to recommend is that we find some indicators, some KPIs, if you will, to look at to let us know whether we need to do more email or less. This is unsubscribe rate. This is a post from HubSpot. This is unsubscribe rate graphed against send frequency, number of emails per month, which you probably can't see at all in those numbers. So at the edge of this is one email per month all the way up to 31 per month, which is 1 per day. And so what you see is that unsubscribe rate kind of evens out. So you would expect unsubscribe rate to sort of skyrocket as you started sending more frequently, but it turns out that doesn't actually happen. And here's a similar thing with open rate and click rate, which is that they actually increase as you go up in frequency to 16 to 30, you get up there, and then you go down a little bit slightly. Another tool that I use, all my email delivery goes through Mandrill. Anybody use Mandrill? Anybody like Mandrill? A little bit? Yeah, so Mandrill does transactional email, and they take care of a lot of stuff for you, bounce management, spam management, and other stuff like that. And they have a metric called sender reputation, which takes a lot of stuff. It takes your bounce rate, any spam complaints you get, your sending volume, and it factors that all into a sender reputation, and it graphs it for you. So this is a great indication of how well people are receiving your email. So this is something that you can look at. So takeaways for problem number one are that you want to rely on. If I could only read this. You want to rely on data to decide how much email to send. Figure that out as a benchmark so that you can have something objective to make a decision off of. Keep an eye on your sender reputation. And different types of email software have different ways of doing this. I'm sure every platform out there has some kind of a metric you can look at. And then just start testing more email. Start sending more stuff. I know sometimes we don't want to send more email. We don't want to spam people. But you get your metrics in place. You figure out how you can measure things. And then just start testing things. All right, problem number two, HTML email. So writing HTML for email is like going back to 1999, right? You're all of a sudden you're staring at an IE6 browser window, and before you know it, you got pop-ups all over the place, right? So what I like to recommend as an overarching principle is keep it simple. In terms of your email templates, there's a lot you can do. You can try to get fancy with a lot of stuff. A lot of times we could spend 3 months, I just had a customer where we spent 3 months fine-tuning things with their email, and that's 3 months of lost revenue of not getting emails out. So you don't want to send a horrible-looking email. You want to have it at a minimum, a nice-looking template, but try not to obsess about all the ins and outs of things that can go wrong. So pick a simple email template. Work within existing email templates. There's ones you can buy. There's a lot of frameworks out there. MailChimp, has ways you can build emails. So work with what you have. Try not to get too fancy. Avoid things that are too custom. And again, focus on driving sales. We want to focus on making the cheddar, right? Making the cheddar. So Litmus is another tool that helps with testing, and it lets you look at email rendered across lots of different clients and browsers. So that's a great tool to use as well. You didn't think you guys were going to get away without a pitch. So there, you may have heard of MageMail. You could also check that out. My emphasis, a lot of the stuff I'm talking about is on simplicity and quick deployment. So I like to tell people, hey, here's what you should do. Start sending these emails. Start getting them out. You don't have to get a designer involved. You don't have to get development involved. Boom, 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 you're out the door. And you've got somebody else that's sort of, like Bill was talking about, you have somebody else that's passionate about this topic, constantly working to improve your program. Now, you may have the resources to do that in-house, and if so, that's great. That could be even better. but you want to have somebody that is continually testing and improving things for you. So takeaways, keep it, hey guys, like my key graphic? It's not bad, right? Keep it simple, rely on the tools that are available. Try not to get too fancy. When in doubt, use Meet-Magento. Okay. Problem number 3, where to begin? There's so many options. We could segment, cross-segment, double send, resend, and there's so many different programs you can use. How do you figure out where to start? So I'm going to just give some practical recommendations here. First one, set aside some time. Maybe that's, maybe that's yourself, maybe that's someone on staff, maybe that's a vendor. But set aside some time. Maybe you have a block of time during the week, or you have somebody that you can assign to that as a resource to just start testing things, start trying different things. A few practical things for newsletters. Consider, you guys have probably heard all these before. Consider, and that's a lot of it, is a lot of times we know a lot about the things we could be doing, but we just aren't doing it because you don't have the time. There's too many things to consider. There's too many options. Consider offering a 5% discount or something similar, a little incentive. Consider an exit intent pop-up. I know we hate pop-ups. What I like about the exit intent is that, with the welcome pop-up, you go to a site, you're reading, boom, it pops up, it blocks. You're on your mobile, you're trying to read an article, a pop-up comes up, and it's like blocking you. What I like about the exit intent is it only pops up when you scroll to leave the website, so it's a little bit less intrusive, and it gets people right when they're about to take off. Start A/B testing your subject lines. Abandoned cart, I'm sure we've all heard about a lot. That's another big one. Again, the big thing is get started. A lot of programs can be complicated and expensive. I know some vendors I've heard charge $15,000 to get started with an abandoned cart. So whatever you can do, we've got a HeadWorks in the house, follow-up email extension. And so do something to get started. And then after that, you want to look at discounts. You want to be careful with discounts because you can easily train people to expect discounts in the abandoned cart. I read that millennials are now smart enough that they expect the abandoned cart. So they go to a site, they shop, they leave, and they expect the abandoned cart for the discount. So what I do is I try to not give the discount in the first abandoned cart that goes an hour out. Maybe you give it to them in 2 days out, 3 days out. You can also segment it to new customers. So you're only going to get a discount if you're a new customer versus an existing customer getting that same discount every single time. And then again, so that's already talked about that, segmenting new versus returning. Review requests are also a great one to get started with. Obviously, reviews help with SEO and increase conversion rates. Every review that you get on the site is going to help you in that regard. In addition to driving direct sales, that's one thing that has surprised me and a lot of customers is that they see sales coming from review requests, right? You make a purchase 2 weeks out, you get an email to review it. And then people go in and they make additional purchases. So the takeaways for problem number 3, set aside some time. Maybe it's a little, maybe it's a lot, whatever it is. Just set aside that time to start testing. Grow those newsletter signups, get the abandoned cart in place, get the review requests in place, and that's it, short and sweet. So any questions, any preguntas?